वाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय सुत उवाच यो वै द्रौण्य अस्तविप्लुष्टो न मातुर उदरे मृतः अनुग्रहाद भगवतः कृष्णया भूतकर्मणः.
Hare Krishna. Sri Sutta Goswami said, due to the mercy of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who acts wonderfully, Maharaj Parikshit, though struck by the weapon of the son of Drona in his mother's womb, could not be burnt.
Text 2. ब्रह्मकोपत् हिदाद् यस्तु तक्षकात् प्राणविप्लवात् न समूमोहरुभ्या भयाद् भगवती अर्पिताश्रयः.
Furthermore, Maharaj Parikshit was always consciously surrendered to the personality of Godhead, and therefore he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by fear due to a snake bird which was to bite him because of the fury of a Brahmana boy.
उत्सृज्य शर्वतः सङ्गं विघ्नात् चितसंस्थितः वैयासकेरजः शिष्यो गङ्गायं स्वं कलेवरम्.
Furthermore, after leaving all his associates, the king surrendered himself as a disciple to the son of Vyasa, Sukadeva Goswami, and thus he was able to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead, and at last gave up his material body on the bank of the Ganges.
नूत्तमश्लोकवार्तानां जुसातां तत् कथामृतं स्यात् सम्भ्रमोत्कालेऽपि स्मरातामं तत्पादम्बुजम्.
This was so because those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing, and who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, do not run the risk of having misconceptions even at the last moment of their lives.
तावत् कलेर्न प्रभवेत् प्रविष्टो अपि सर्वतः यावद् ईशो महान् उर्व्याम् आभिमन्यव एकरात्.
As long as the great powerful son of Abhimanyu remains the emperor of the world, there is no chance that the personality of Kali will flourish.
यस्मिन् अहनियर्हि एव भगवान् उत्ससर्जगां तदैवेहानुवृत्तोऽस्वाव् अधर्म प्रभवाः कलिः.
The very day and moment the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of irreligious activities, came into this world.
नानुद्वेष्टि कलिं सम्राट् शारङ्ग इव सारभुक् कुशलानि आशु सिद्ध्यन्ति नेतराणि कृतानि यत्.
Maharaj Parikshit was a realist, like the bees who only accept the essence of a flower. He knew perfectly well that in this age of Kali, auspicious things produce good effects immediately, whereas inauspicious acts must be actually performed to render effects. So he was never envious of the personality of Kali.
किं नु बालेषु शूरेण कलीन धीरभीरुणा अप्रमत्तः प्रमत्तेषु यो वृको निषु वर्तते.
Maharaj Parikshit considered that less intelligent men might fight the personality of Kali to be very powerful, but that those who are self-controlled would have nothing to fear. The king was powerful like a tiger and took care for the foolish, careless persons.
उपवर्णितम् एतद्वः पुण्यं परीक्षितं मया वासुदेव कथोपेतम् अखियानां यद् अपृच्छता.
O sages, as you did ask me, now I have described almost everything regarding the narrations about Lord Krishna in connection with the history of the pious Maharaj Parikshit.
या यः कथा भगवतः कथानियोरुकर्मणः गुणकर्माश्रया पुंभिः संसेव्यास्ता बुभूषुभिः.
Those who are desirous of achieving complete perfection in life must submissively hear all topics that are connected with the transcendental activities and qualities of the personality of Godhead, who acts wonderfully.
ऋषय उचुः सूतजीव समः सौम्य शाश्वतिर्विशदं यशः यस्त्वं संसासि कृष्णस्य मर्त्यानाम् अमृतं हीनः.
The good sages said, O grave Suta Goswami, may you live many years and have eternal fame, for you are speaking very nicely about the activities of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This is just like nectar for mortal beings like us.
कर्मण्य अस्मिन् अनास्वासे धूमधूम्रात्मनां भवान् अपायायति गोविन्द पादपद्मासवं मधु.
We have just begun the performance of this fruitive activity, a sacrificial fire without certainty of its results due to the many imperfections in our action. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead Govinda, which you are distributing.
तुल्यामलवेनापि न स्वर्गं न पुरं भवं भगवत्सङ्गीसङ्गस्य मर्त्यानां किम् उताशिषः.
The value of a moment's association with a devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter, and what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for that.
ओ नाम तिप्येद्रसवित्तकथायां महत्तमैकान्तपरायणस्य नान्तमं गुणानाम् अगुणस्य जग्मुर्योगेश्वराये भाव पद्ममुख्याः.
Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, Govinda, is the exclusive shelter for all living beings, and his transcendental attributes cannot even be measured by such masters of mystic powers as Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Can anyone who is expert in relishing nectar, rasa, ever be fully satiated by hearing topics about him?
तन्नो भवान् वै भगवत्प्रधानो महत्तमैकान्तपरायणस्य न हरेरुदारं चरितं विशुद्धं शुश्रूषतां नो वितनोतु विद्वन्.
O Sutta Goswami, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord, because the personality of Godhead is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception, for we are anxious to receive such messages.
स वै महाभागवतः परीक्षित येनापवर्गाख्यम् अधभ्रबुद्धिः ज्ञानेन वैयाशकी शब्दितेन भेजे खकेन्द्र ध्वजपादमूलम्.
O Goswami, Please describe those topics of the Lord by which Maharaj Parikshit, whose intelligence was fixed on liberation, attained the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of Garuda, the king of birds. Those topics were vibrated by the son of Vyasa, Srila Sukdev.
तन्नः परं पुण्यमसंवृतार्थम् आख्यानम् अत्यद्भुतयोगनिष्ठम् आख्याह्यानान्त चरितोपपन्नम् परीक्षितं भगवताभिरामम्.
Thus, pleasure narrated to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of Bhakti Yoga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. English, Shobna Mataji, English was very, very nice, very fluent. And Sanchi Mataji, the Sanskrit pronunciation was very, very impressive. Thank you so much. Very nicely recited. Hare Krishna. Okay, we can just share the PowerPoint and we can take it from there in a second. Hare Krishna. Okay. So today we're going to start a new chapter. We finished chapter 17. Yesterday was a summary. Today we start in chapter 18 of the first canto, which is entitled Maharaj Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. Just before we recite the verses and everything, because today is the first day for this chapter, we just do an overview. We can just do a chapter summary so we know what's in this chapter. So the verses 1 to 10 speaks about Maharaj Parikshit's birth and death and dealings with Kali. 11 to 17 speaks about the eagerness of the sages to hear Krishna Katha. 18 to 23 will speak about Sutta Goswami glorifying Krishna. 24 to 31 will be Maharaj Parikshit's anger at Shamika Rishi for ignoring him when he asked for water. 30 to 50 will be the famous pastime of Shringi cursing Maharaj Parikshit. And when Shamika Rishi finds out, he regrets his son's actions. This is how the chapter is structured. And today we're doing the first and second actually. So before I begin, we'll just do the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatas Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Krishne Swadamutagate Dharma Jnana Vibhishana Kalau Nashta Dushamesha Purana Kodunodita Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Snigdha Cheta Supraneta Vagvinam Jarasatha Vipalika Tattana Naumi Bhakti Charu Pane Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishya Sunnivadi Pasha Devi Saparine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna. What we'll do is we'll recite the 2 verses, also read the purports, and then we can, as usual, we'll go into the purport and we'll try and go deeper into what Prabhupada is saying. We'll try and connect with other verses from different parts of scriptures, which give us a better understanding of what is being said. So 18.1. Sutta Uvacha Yo Vaidronyastra Viplushto Namatut Udare Mritaha Anugrahat Bhagavataha Krishnasya Karmana. Sri Sutta Goswami said, due to the mercy of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who acts wonderfully, Maharaj Parikshit, though struck by the weapon of the son of Drona in his mother's womb, could not be burned. It's a short purport to this verse. So somebody can unmute and read this, please.
I can read, Prabhuji. Hare
Yes.
Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. This is Mamta Mataji. So the sages of Naimisharanya became struck with wonder after hearing about the wonderful administration of Maharaja Parikshit, especially in reference to his punishing the personality of Kali and making him completely unable to do any harm within the kingdom. Suta Goswami was equally anxious to describe Maharaja Parikshit's wonderful birth and death, and this verse is stated by Suta Goswami to increase the interest of the sages of Naimisharanya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mamta Mataji. Thank you so much. And by the way, it was very nice meeting you in person on Saturday.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Same here. Likewise.
So, yeah, just before we go on to the next verse, there's not so much to discuss on this purport. The only main point I could see from here was that normally when you see a new chapter in the Bhagavatam or even Bhagavad Gita, it starts off with some questions by Shonaka Rishi on behalf of the sages. So questions come, and then Sutta Goswami, or in this case, Sutta Goswami would expand or reply. So unusually, this particular chapter starts not with a question, but with a desire of Sutta Goswami to increase the interest of the sages. So this is an interesting point, I thought. Next, we move on to 118.2. Brahma kopotitad yastu takshatkatra nipana viplavat na sammumoho rubayat bhagavat yat pitakshaya. Furthermore, Maharaj Parikshit was always consciously surrendered to the personality of Godhead, and therefore he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by fear due to a snake bite, which was to bite him because of the fury of a Brahmana boy. Purport here again. Somebody can please unmute and thank you.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
A self-surrendered devotee of the Lord is called Narayan Prayan. Such a person is never afraid of any place or person, not even of death. For him, nothing is as important as the Supreme Lord, and thus he gives equal importance to heaven and hell. He knows well that both heaven and hell are creations of the Lord, and similarly, life and death are different conditions of existence created by the Lord. But in all conditions and in all circumstances, remembrance of Narayan is essential. The Narayan Prayan practice this constantly. Maharaj Parikshit was such a pure devotee. He was wrongfully cursed by an inexperienced son of a Brahmana who was under the influence of Kali, and Maharaj Parikshit took this to be sent by Narayan. He knew that Narayan, Lord Krishna, had saved him when he was burned in the womb of his mother, and if he were to be killed by a snake bite, it would also take place by the will of the Lord. The devotee never goes against the will of the Lord. Anything sent by God is blessing for the devotee. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit was neither afraid of nor bewildered by such thing. That is a sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Girish Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raghunathan Mitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadam Paritana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Siddhishakras Vipasya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada ki jai. So, chapter 17 ended with Srila Goswami describing the glorious rule of Maharaj Parikshit. And then, now in chapter 18, Srila Goswami explains the events leading to Parikshit Maharaj is renouncing his kingdom. So, like I say, the first purport was small and not much to discuss. Second purport for text 2, a few things we can look at. Prabhupada begins with the lines, a self-surrendered devotee of the Lord is called Narayana Parayana. Very important phrase this. It appears in many places, but the one that came to mind today as I was preparing was the sixth canto of Bhagavatam, 14th chapter, text 5. So that particular section of Bhagavatam deals with Vritrashura. Deals with who was Vritrashura before? He was King Chitraketu. So when Chitraketu, one time when he actually saw Mother Parvati sitting on the lap of Shiva in front of the sages, he thought it was quite strange that somebody who's such a renounced personality, literally like Maharaj, like Lord Shiva, would do this in front of the sages, and he laughed, and then he was cursed. So, and then he was cursed to become a demon. So at that time, I think later on, there's a conversation between Shiva and Parvati, and this verse is spoken there by Lord Shiva. And it says, this is 6:14.5, Muktanam api siddhanam Narayana Parayana Sudurlabha Paraprashantatma Kotishvapi Mahamune. So actually, no, this is not spoken by this verse is spoken by Parikshit Maharaj. He's asking questions, and because he's quite amazed that somebody like Asura would have such good character to accept the curse and not protest. So how come this like someone like Vritrasura, how come a demon like Vritrasura attained such exalted love for the Lord? So the question goes, "O great sage," so is Parishad Maharaj addressing Sukadeva Goswami, "among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayan or Krishna. Such devotees who are very peaceful are extremely rare. Sudurlabha means extremely rare, and Prashant Atma, which means peaceful." So there's a verse which is similar in the Bhagavad Gita. It talks about a rarity of a devotee. Can anybody remember that?
Yes, Prabhuji. Bahunam janmanam ante gyanvan mam prapadyate vasudevam sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Rupaben. That was one that also came to mind. But there's another one also, which actually talks about out of many who are trying for perfection, really one attains, and then out of one is hardly one who is a devotee of Krishna. Very similar verse, which is in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. 7.3, anybody? So this is very, very, very parallel to this particular verse that we discussed just now. This one says, "Manushanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam neti tatpataha." Here, Lord Krishna is saying, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So the point being made here is there are, of course, different processes. People take different paths, and one may achieve perfection, for example, even in the impersonal path. But so there are different kinds of paths people take. But hardly one of them would become a devotee of Krishna. And this is hardly one would know the truth, which means the real truth is to surrender unto the Lord and become his servant. So that is so rare, so rare. So that is why we will always thank our lucky stars, thank the mercy of Krishna that we have all come somehow or the other, come into the contact of ISKCON devotees and Prabhupada's teachings. So we are actually trying to make our lives successful in a very rare way. Then the purport continues. Such a person is never afraid of any place or person, not even of death. For him, nothing is as important as the Supreme Lord, and thus he gives equal importance to heaven and hell. So this is equilibrium. The devotee, a pure devotee, two things here. He's never afraid of anything or any place or any person, not even afraid of death. And he doesn't care whether he's going to be going to hell or heaven, as long as he is involved in devotional service. This is the mood of pure devotee. And this again in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, this is explained again by Lord Shiva. This is actually here, Lord Shiva speaking to Parvati, after King Chitraketu has accepted the curse from Parvati without a protest. And he's saying, Narayana para sarve na kutashana bhidyati swarga pavargo narakeshu apitulyartha darshana. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So we find this kind of mood many times in the bhajans of the Goswamis, or the writings of the Goswamis also, where the Goswamis are literally, they're not looking for anything. They don't want anything for themselves. They don't even want liberation. They're just saying, just make me servant of the servant of the servant. This famous pastime where Haridas Thakur, one time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with him. So he asked him to ask for a boon. And Haridas Thakur, do you know what he asked for? Anybody? Haridas Thakur said, my only wish is that I may be born as a dog in my next life, outside the temple of devotees, so that I can enjoy the remnants of the food that the devotees are, of the prasadam that devotees are eating. That was his mood. So imagine if somebody, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead is going to ask us to choose a boon, we would have a long list. But Haridas Thakur this was his wish. And you know, these personalities are not faking. These personalities are really feeling this. This is what their mood really is. So yes, and it is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so pleased, and he said, just by saying this, Haridas Thakur, I have become prisoner in your heart. So this is my amazing interactions between devotees and with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll read a little bit of a purport of this verse that we just discussed. Parvati might naturally have inquired how devotees become so exalted. Therefore, this verse explains that they are Narayan Para, simply dependent on Narayan. They do not mind reverses in life because in the service of Narayan, they have learned to tolerate whatever hardships they may be. They do not care whether they are in heaven or in hell. They simply engage in the service of the Lord. This is their excellence. Anukulena Krishnanu Shiranam. They are liberated, they are liberally engaged in the service of the Lord, and therefore they are excellent. By using the word Britya Prityanam, Lord Shiva pointed out that although Chitraketu provided one example of tolerance and excellence, all the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord as eternal servants are glorious. They have no eagerness to be happy by being placed in the heavenly planets, becoming liberated or becoming one with Brahman, the supreme effulgence. These benefits do not appeal to their mind. They are simply interested in giving direct service to the Lord. So in here, there's Prabhupada actually quoted just a couple of words of that famous verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami. Anya Bilasita Sunyam Jnana Karma Naditam Anavitam Anukulyana Krishnanu Shiranam Bhakti Uttama. This is the definition of pure devotional service. Anya Bilashita Sunyam, Anya Abhilasha, which means he has no other desire than to worship the God, to serve the God. Jnana Karma Dhanavitam, they're not interested in Gyan or, of course, Karma, definitely not. So their devotional service is not anavritam, then it's not covered by even Gyan or Karma. Anukulyana Krishnanu, so anything that is anukulya, that anything is favorable to Krishna, that is the mood. That is called Bhaktir Uttama. The purport continues. He knows well that both heaven and hell are creations of the Lord. And similarly, life and death are different conditions of existence created by the Lord. But in all conditions and in all circumstances, remembrance of Narayan is essential. So, Man Manava Mad Bhakto, Krishna says towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, always think of me. This is such an important principle. And Prabhupada has given us this institution of ISKCON just for this purpose. We follow the system Prabhupada has set up. Wake up early in the morning, Mangala Aarti, Tulsi Puja, chanting, Guru Puja, then the class, and then again during the day, different services that reminds you of Krishna. Bhagavatam class in the morning, evening class, Bhagavad Gita class. So many things that we can do that will keep us always in the remembrance of Krishna. Very, very important. In the second canto of Bhagavad Gita, second canto of Bhagavatam, first chapter, text 6, it explains the situation. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Vyam Swadharma Parinishthaya Janma Labha Para Pumsam Ante Narayana Smriti. Ante Narayana Smriti. So in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Parishit Maharaj had asked Shukadeva Goswami, what should a man hear? What should he chant? What should he remember? And what should he worship? So this verse is answering that question. And it is saying, the highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit. This is Sankhya philosophy, neti, matter and spirit, or by practice of mystic powers. This is the mystic yoga path, or by perfect discharge of occupation duty. This is the karma path. So highest perfection is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. So if whichever path you take, if it doesn't lead you to remembering the Supreme Lord at the end of life, then that path is not perfect for us. So again, little part of the purport is relevant. Prabhupada is saying, there are many historical instances of the achievement of spiritual perfection, such as that of the Sanakadi Rishis or the 9 celebrated Yogendras, who attained perfection only after being situated in the devotional service of the Lord. So just briefly, we know that the Sanakadi, the 4 Kumaras, they were impersonalists, and they became devotees of the Lord simply by being at the gate of Vaikuntha, where they were being stopped by the gatekeepers, Jaya and Vijay, and they actually just, in the breeze coming from inside, they just smelled the aroma of the tulsi leaves coming from the lotus feet of the Lord, and that transformed them. And Navayogendra, similarly, they got teachings from Lord Shiva, and they became devotees. To continue, none of the devotees of the Lord ever deviated from the path of devotional service by taking to other methods as adopted by the Gyanis or Yogis. So the point Prabhupada making here is there are many examples of people from the other paths becoming devotees, but we don't hear of anybody moving backwards from devotee becoming a impersonalist. Everyone is anxious to achieve the highest perfection of his particular activity. And it is indicated herein that perfection is Narayan Smriti, for which everyone must endeavor his best. In other words, life should be modeled in such a manner that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life. Like I was saying, Prabhupada has given us the whole process on a plate. We just need to follow it. In Bhagavad Gita, there's also a nice verse about remembering the Lord at the end of life. Very famous verse. This I'm sure you will know. Anybody? 8th chapter. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukvam kalevaram yah prayati samatbhavam yati nashyatra samshaya. And whoever at the end of life quits his body, remember me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt. Attaining his nature means we get a spiritual body, we get a spiritual nature. So Gita is confirming this, that we must remember the Lord at the end of his end of life. So many times I'm part of the bereavement team, so I do lots of funeral programs or funeral at the crematoriums, and this verse, of course, comes up all the time. And sometimes I get asked that, yes, okay, we can try and do whatever we can remember Krishna at the end of life, but what if and it happens so often when somebody is in a coma, somebody is not conscious. So what happens in that case? How will you remember Krishna? Would anybody have any answer to that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mamta.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Indulekha Mataji. Okay, go on.
Hare Krishna. Yes, if somebody has practiced devotional life all his life, so say somebody, a devotee, is walking down the road, and that devotee has kantimala, he has tilak, he has bead bag in his hand, and that devotee gets a heart attack. Now he would not be able to talk. He will be sweating. His tilak will be gone. His kantimala will be pulled because he's choking, gasping for air, and that person would be taken to the hospital. And there, he would have a tube in his mouth where he's suffering excruciating pain. So in that instance, Krishna himself comes. He promises, my devotee never perishes. He asks Arjuna to say that to the devotees. So Krishna will come personally, but with our defective eyes, we cannot see Krishna. He is there. I don't know, Prabhuji, this is my understanding.
Yes,
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Thank you,
Krishna.
Nilekha Mataji. That's exactly what is said by the Acharyas. That as long as we are pure, and of course, it all depends on yayatha mam prapadyante. So if somebody is taking devotional life very casually, then maybe he cannot expect this kind of situation at the end of life. But for people who are seriously on this path, who are taking devotional life very seriously, following in the path of the previous acharyas, following the instructions of the spiritual master, for those, the situation is guaranteed. As Nilekha Mataji confirmed, that Krishna says that my Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee will never perish. And I also came across recently, I came up with a beautiful verse. This is from the Varaha Purana, which confirms this. And it was very, very nice. So it says, Yadi Vatadi Doshena. So Yadi Vatadi. So as we know, according to Ayurveda, our body is balanced by Kapha Vata Pitta, three doshas. So because Yadi Vatadi Doshena, in case of imbalance in these doshas, Mad Bhakta Mam Najas Maret. Because of this, so you are not well, or you are unconscious, you are in a coma, you're not able to remember. So, Yadi Vatadi Doshena Mad Bhakta Nacha Smaret. When he says, Aham Smarami Mad Bhakta, I will remember my devotee, Nayami Paramam Gati, and I will take him to the supreme abode. It's very, very nice. Isn't it really, really, really showing? A beautiful verse from the Varaha Purana. And again, just before this, another verse I've got here. This actually a quote from 8.5. We just read through that verse. So here it says, in this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body in Krishna consciousness is at once transferred to the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the purest of pure. Therefore, anyone who is constantly Krishna conscious is also the purest of pure. The word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotion service. Therefore, one should practice Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life. If one wants to achieve success at the end of life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. Therefore, one should constantly, incessantly chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So yesterday I was attending a class from a devotee, Radhakanta Prabhu. Some of you may know him. He runs the Bhakti Center, and I happened to be there. And he quoted, he didn't give us a source, but he quoted a couplet from somewhere. And I couldn't figure out where it's from, but it's very, very fitting to what we're discussing today. And this one says, if you understand Hindi, you will probably get what he's saying. I'll translate it in English in a minute. He says, Do baatein na ko bhulo mat. Do baatein na ko bhulo mat. Don't forget two things. Do baatein na ko bhulo mat. Jo chahat kalyan. If you want kalyan means if you want auspiciousness in your life. दो बात में को भूलो मत, जो चाहता कल्याण, एक अपना मौत को. Never forget your death. Remember that we are not immortal, and death will come to us. एक अपना मौत को और दूजा श्री भगवान. It's very, very nice. Two things don't forget. Don't forget that we are ultimately going to die, and that's why we have to remember Bhagavan Krishna. Moving on to the next line of purport. The devotee never goes against the will of the Lord. Anything sent by God is a blessing for the devotee. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit was neither afraid of nor bewildered by such things. This is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. So this is again coming to a verse to connect this. 10th Canto 14, chapter text 8, beautiful verse. Tattenu kampam shusamiksamano hunjana evatmakritam vipakam vidvat vabhubir vidadan namaste jive tayo mukti pade sadayabha. It says here, this is Lord Brahma's prayers to Krishna after the Brahma Vimohan Leela. And Lord Brahma is saying to Lord Krishna, "Oh, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim." A little bit of the purport here. It says, this is actually Prabhupada quoting Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary of this verse that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. So another reassuring verse that as long as we earnestly wait for Krishna's mercy, and whatever happens to any reverses that happen to us, we patiently suffer to understand that these are reactions of my own past mistakes. And then all the while, even though we're suffering, we offer obeisances, we worship the Lord with our heart and words and mind, body, mind, and word. So yeah, very, very instructive, very, very reassuring as well for all devotees. So devotees, I will stop here and invite any comments, any questions, any realizations, any corrections. End of the day, normally I wake up early, of course, like all of us, and I feel quite tired, so quite likely I made some mistakes. If somebody can please point them out if that's the case. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My humble obeisances unto you. All
Hare
glories to
Krishna.
the Lord. Hare Krishna. My question is, first of all, thank you so much for the wonderful class. It's very nice, the remembrance of Krishna. It's so very powerful verses, all of them. So for the last paragraph that you said about reverses of life, just a thing came in my mind that when reverses come in our lives, like anything, so many things we hear from the news as well, as in somebody's life, not in our lives only, in somebody's life. So when reverses come, don't we have to also kind of remedy, say something's wrong, so don't we have to remedy, always we have to take it as Krishna's mercy and don't do anything? Because when I think of that, I think when Arjuna was in dilemma, and then Krishna advised him how he said the Bhagavad Gita. So if it was true that, okay, everything is Krishna's mercy, so I'll just not do anything, so Krishna wouldn't say to Arjuna to fight, isn't it? So it was like Krishna's advice to Arjuna was to fight and not give up. So I think that's the message as well, that through obviously Krishna's teachings and all everything to do for Krishna, But when something's wrong, we need to fight. Fight in not in the sense that fighting fight. I mean, not give up and just be like timid and not do anything. We should be. I can't say the word, but I just want to say that. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? I can't get the right word actually.
Yes. Thank you so much, Rupa Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
It's so important. So yes, of course, when we are faced with a difficult situation, we need to take steps to remedy the situation. That is for sure. We shouldn't just sit and say, right, what is going to happen? You can't just you cross the road and say, right, I'm going to just cross the road, and it doesn't matter, whatever happens, it happens. No, we have to make sure that we're safe to cross the road like that. Similarly, if you get some kind of a disease, certainly we try and find remedy, we try and find a cure, get out of that situation. If we find ourselves in a financial difficulty, we try and find a way around it. So this last verse that we recited, Tatenu Kampa Vimukshimano, that one speaks about tolerance rather than it being inactive. So basically, two things it talks about. It doesn't say that you shouldn't do anything about it. It just says that don't blame anybody, especially don't blame God. That's the main thing. A lot of times you find karmis especially, they will, whenever something good happens, they will say, I did this, and something bad happens, God, why did you do this to me? So that mentality certainly we should not have, because we have to understand that every single thing that happens to us is due to our own past karma, whether in this life or a previous lifetimes. So with that understanding, we are able to tolerate it. We understand that Krishna is giving this to us because we deserve it, and that's why we can just suffer it patiently and without getting too agitated. But yes, you're quite right. At the same time, as Arjun was asked to do, you have to fight. You have to fight any situation that comes that is negative, and we need to try and find a way around it so that we can live a life peacefully. And a peaceful life, which means our devotional service will be peaceful, because in an agitated situation, our devotional service will also suffer. So that's another reason why we should try and make sure that any obstacles that come, we do find a way around it, not just say, okay, it's karma, I can't do anything about it, I'll sit and take it. But yeah, good point you made. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the explanation. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Mukunda, Prabhu, pranams, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Prabhu. Nice to hear your
Wonderful
voice.
having you back again. Thank you for
Thank
wonderful indeed. Just a beautiful story you said about Haridas Thakur. When asked for a benediction, he asked for it to be a dog. But actually, as you know, he then goes on to say, but Mahaprabhu, actually, I'm not even entitled to be a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he goes on to say, the humility goes on further to say, actually, I'm not even entitled to be a dog at a house. Who am I to ask for that benediction? So it's just the epitome of humility.
Well, thank you for phrasing it exactly. Yes, you can see the level of humility, and this is genuine humility, as I was saying. Thank you for raising that, Shailesh Prabhu. Yeah, this is just amazing. We can't even think about that kind of humility. So yes, it's just the teaching is by these examples, by reading these examples, we can really learn a lot about what our motives should be. Thank you so much, Shailesh Prabhu. Okay, so 9:40. We'll call it a day now. So I think this probably, 1 second, let me see, 25, yeah. This will be my last class until November now, because early October, well, we're going from our Sangha, we go, about 18 of us are going for Yatra. We're going to go to Vrindavan, Mathura and all that, and then we go to Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, and then Ujjain at the end, and we come back. So it's going to be 3-4 weeks away. So I wish they say when you go to a dham, it's not a question of buying a ticket and going. You need to get blessings from devotees for you to be able to make that journey and relish the journey. So I humbly request that all of you online, please give me the blessings, give myself, my wife, and the whole group the blessings that we can do this journey and do it peacefully, and hopefully render some service while we're at the farms. Hare Krishna. So I'll be back in November. And thank you so much for all of you for your support. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so much,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much, and
Hare
wish you all the
Krishna.
best for the
Thank you,
house.
Prabhuji, for very nice class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for
Very
your
nice.
wonderful class.
Wonderful class. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Have
Krishna.
a blissful time, Prabhuji. Have a
Yeah.
blissful time.
Yes.
For your yatra.
Stay safe.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Safe journeys. Hare
Wonderful
Krishna.
time.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Vanchakapatarubyascha कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Hari Bol.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Miraben.
Prabhuji, I just want to say that you all are coming on Wednesday.
Yes.
ક્યારે બી તમારે સત્સંગ કરવો હોય ને, the doors are open.
Of course, no. Miraben.
સામેથી કહેજો, હા.
Yeah, we know that. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's just that
કારણ કે છે પછી તો નવેમ્બરમાં છે, તમે આવી શકશો ને.
That's it. Yes, exactly. So I think when we come back, we'll try and do it a bit more regularly. At least, once a month, we try and do in your place, so that way we get face-to-face association. That's the plan. Let's see how it goes.
પણ આ વખતે તો મને લાગે છે કે આનંદવર્ધન પ્રભુ કંઈક બિઝી છે ને, કેનેડાના મહેમાન છે. ચંદ્રેશભાઈ નથી.
Yeah. So we'll see. That's why I put the message. If there's only 2 or 3 people coming, then we will probably just carry on online. Let's see how many respond. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
I wish you a very happy journey, Prabhuji. Good yatra.
Thank you so
And,
much, Mataji. Thank
My
you.
God, Krishna will be there with you all the time. Even I'm also going, Prabhuji, for the yatra with Divyaram Prabhu.
Oh, yes,
You-
yes.
To
Yes.
Govardhan and Varanasi, but Vrindavan and Eco
Yes.
Village.
Yes, right. Yeah, I
It'll be
checked.
really wonderful.
Yeah, unfortunately, our dates are different, so we will be gone by the time you come. But you too have a wonderful, very safe
Thank
and
you so much,
nourishing journey.
Prabhuji. Enjoy yourself in Jagannath. If you want anything in Jagannath Puri, please let me know.
Okay.
Because I have a Panditji. I mean,
Yeah.
he's very close to all the Brahmins over there. So I can tell him if he wants, he can lead your group, whatever. Just let me know, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll tell you. There's a couple of devotees in our group who will take a lead to organize all that. So I'll let them know in case they need something for Jagannath Puri.
Surely,
Thank you.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. What a wonderful session. And all the best in the yatra. You will come recharged to give even more service, because your heart is so anchoring, just like your Guru Maharaj.
Hari Bol. I'm looking forward to going to Jain and seeing my Guru Maharaj's.
Yes.
But this will be
Sure, you will come with so much blessings.
but there's mixed feelings for Ujjain, because this is the first time I'll be going to Ujjain when my Guru Maharaj is not there.
Yes,
It will be sad also.
yes. No, true. But it'll be a wonderful trip. I know that, right? Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
When are you returning, Mukesh Bhai?
So we are
I will,
back
Prabhuji.
on 26th of October. We are back.
Okay.
Okay. Hari Bol, everybody.
Beautiful journey, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, safe journey.
Thank you, Shobana.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.